Never know. It says going live. We're live. Look at that. It actually works. Guys, what's up? It's Z-Dog. It's YouTube Live Rounds. We don't do that very often anymore because YouTube Live is still kind of whack. But I figure, hey, why not mix it up? I have a high openness to experience psychological score, and I'm open to screwing this up in a major way. Come on in, bring your questions. Let's see what we see. If I can make this thing pop up on my phone, it would be even better because then we could chat. Actually, I see the chat stream there, but I don't see anyone. I don't see anyone coming in. Did I make it live to the public? Who knows? Maybe not. Here it is. Okay. 2 people here. That makes no sense. Is this just to supporters, guys, or is this to the whole show? Because it should be to the whole show. The whole caboodle and kit thing. Oh, there we go. Now people are coming in. Hey, Matthew Roberts is here. What up? Okay, so now you're just joining. I'm going to YouTube Live just because. Why not? Just do something different. Because, you know, what can you do? Abby Fritz is here. Dennis Throckmorton, sorry. What up? Tamara's here. Hi. Okay, bring some questions. There's been a lot, obviously, going on. Like people not wearing masks, people wearing masks. Surge in infections, not surge in infections. Maybe you don't want to talk about coronavirus. Let's talk about Dr. Pimple Popper. I don't care. Hit me up. Ask me questions. Christian Velez is here. Sup? Patience, Z. You're right. I need that patience, though. You know, it's just like Guns N' Roses said. Just a little patience. Yeah. Oh, I got to tell you guys for a new parody idea we're working on. John Mayer's Waiting for the World to Change as a celebration of healthcare professionals. So, you know, shot in the hospital, you know, these are all my friends. They're all misunderstood. The people call them heroes because the people want to feel good. You know what I'm saying? Now we see everything that's wrong with the world and those who lead it. But no matter how they screw it up, we rise above and treat it. And so we're waiting on the world to change. Get the general premise of it? I can't sing, but that's the general premise of it. Let's see. What questions do we have here? People asking about mast cell activation. I'm not sure I want to talk about mast cell activation right now. Let's talk about pandemic fatigue, Christian Velez. So I think, thank you for the $2, Tony. I think that people have had it, obviously, in America. What's interesting is in Europe and in Asia, they have not had it. They actually had very aggressive shutdowns early on, way more aggressive than what we had here, and more unified at a federal level. And so here we have this sort of disjointed state thing. Everyone's kind of doing their own thing. There's all this these crossed signals, like president doesn't wear a mask. You know, Joe public health guy does wear a mask. This state's doing this, the other state, and all this sort of cross signals from CDC saying, oh, wear a mask, don't wear a mask. So it's been a shit show, let's be honest. And so what's happening is people are rightfully saying, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm going to go out and do whatever I want, which is going to lead to more infections, which we're now potentially seeing. We're still seeing the sort of residua of the opening around Memorial Day and the gatherings and things like that. And it's unclear when we're going to see the effects of the protests and other. Now, outdoor is a little less transmissible for this virus than indoor environments like bars and nightclubs and things like that. When you have those kind of scenarios, you're going to see an increase in infections. Now, here's again, the $1 million question. It's already been 120,000 deaths. How much are people willing to say, oh, you know, a bunch of people are going to die. I don't care. I'm starting to think people are doing that. And that's going to really be upsetting to a lot of people. And then to a lot of other people, they're going to be like, look, I'm young, I don't care. And then they accidentally infect a loved one who's older or who has chronic illness. And, you know, so it's tough because, again, when you wreck the social fabric, which we did, when you wreck the economy, which we did, and there's a disease that's wrecking lives, which is COVID. you put that all in a stew and you're going to brew up a basic disaster where people are like, you know what? I'm willing to take bucket 2 and 3, economy and social fabric, back if, some folks have to die. I'm starting to think that's what people are doing. And it's, I was going to say it's terrifying. It is, but it's also very much a American thing. Let's be honest. We don't typically have a proud history of coming together to protect groups of people. We have a proud history of saying fuck you to anybody who tells us what to do, starting with the Brits. So, I think it's culturally concordant. You look at the rest of the world and they have a different sort of approach to these things, especially public health, especially healthcare. And it's a more top-down approach. So Americans don't like that either. So it's really, I think people are they've had it in America. Now, we'll see what that does when more people start dying and the hospitals potentially get really busy to where you're starting to have to ration ICU beds like they did in Italy, and it gets New York level crazy. Welcome, Lynn Nord, to the SuperPac. You're now a supporter of the show on YouTube. I love it so much. Tamara says, COVID is moving to suburban areas now that people are done with lockdown. Yeah, I actually was looking at our Bay Area here, and a lot of these little sleepy bedroom communities like the one I'm based in are starting to see increases in infection rates. So, it's a grand experiment that we're doing. Now, you guys may wonder, wow, she upgraded to SuperPac for life, Lynn Nord. Thank you. That's the $9.99 a month. That really helps us keep all this shit going. So Rachel Casper says, that's why I wear a mask so nobody sees me silently say F you. That's the best reason I've heard yet to wear a mask. All right, masks. Let's talk about masks. Just a little bit, because this has been something that, if you go back and watch all the shows I've done, I always try to summarize in a rational way whatever I think the information is at the moment and say, this is what I think, sort of sprinkled in with some, whatever my emotional bias is. And I'll often just say it, Like, for example, I'll say things like, I think cloth masks are fucking stupid. Well, okay. Why do I think that? Well, emotionally, it seems dumb to tell people to put a piece of cloth over their face when what we should be doing is spinning up an industrial complex that makes masks at a surgical grade, at least, for everybody, including our frontline healthcare professionals. But you couldn't say that because you're going to cost lives on the front lines, and those are the people that were most at risk back then. That's why CDC did this really nefarious thing where they said, let's tell people not to wear masks. And Surgeon General said the same thing because we don't, not that we don't know that it's going to help, but that we can't have runs on masks because we don't trust the public to do whatever it is the right thing, which is a valid concern in America because the public is dumb as fuck. That's why you need to educate the public in a way that people will actually emotionally resonate, not shouting facts at them or trying to shame them or doing that kind of thing. It's not going to work. So you have to actually, use some persuasion techniques and skills along those lines. So what ends up happening is CDC says, don't use masks, then use cloth masks. And at that point, I'm like, come on, guys, really? Now, the question is now, okay, where are we with masks? And what do I think about masks? Man, people think this is some cut and dry answer. And it simply cannot be based on the science that we have so far. Read Michael Osterholm's piece that I should share in the comments where he goes through. Now, Michael Osterholm is a world famous I almost said epidemiologist. So he studies the epididymis, world famous epidemiologist. And he's been on Rogan and other people. He was one of the early people who predicted the severity of this outbreak and actually was pretty much right on a lot of shit. And he did a piece on masks saying, never in the history of the CDC have they made a recommendation based on zero evidence. Like there's no study they can point to saying cloth masks are helpful for the general public. There's anecdote, there's theory, but there was no data. And even now people are saying, oh, there's this data. It's modeling data, you guys. It's the same kind of models that Imperial College of London, those sort of models where they're saying there's going to be millions infected and this and that. So you take that stuff with a grain of salt. So where does the theorizing on masks come from? And I'm talking about cloth masks. Let's talk about cloth masks, because surgical masks are probably a grade up, and N95s obviously with fitting are the gold standard, but even those, like, without doing the fitting right, they're no better than the surgical masks probably. And the data kind of seems to bear that out when they looked at influenza. So, and how people actually wear these masks in studies of healthcare professionals. So Osterholm pointed out that there's absolutely really no solid data on public wearing cloth masks to prevent disease, but it's based on sort of this anecdotal idea that the thing is transmitted by respiratory droplets. So these larger droplets that are expelled during coughing and sneezing, and that even a piece of cloth can kind of catch those. And the idea is you're protecting others from yourself, and you're having some minor protection for yourself as well. All these masks, including surgical masks, have air coming out the sides. And in fact, you may be forcing more air out the sides because there's resistance, right? And it'll take the path of least resistance. So, but what if the virus were more aerosol driven? So talking, breathing, singing, shouting. And Osterholm argues that that's what they are starting to see, is that the transmission patterns early on, we thought, okay, it's probably surface, touching face, fecal oral, and coughing, larger respiratory droplets. But now there's thinking that, no, actually it may well have an aerosolized component, although the critical level of virus that you have to inhale is probably at a threshold that you do need quite a bit of prolonged exposure to someone in a closed space, like a restaurant or a choir church room or a bar. And that's what we're seeing, is people talking to each other at loud volumes, like in closed spaces like bars. That seems to be spreading the virus. Now, so what would a mask do if this thing is spread in very small particles that escape the side of the mask? And that's what Osterholm was arguing in his piece. He said, not much, because it's going to give you a false sense of security. You're going to violate the social distancing that is the sort of gold standard. So if you're staying out of these situations, you're staying at a distance, the chances of these particles reaching a critical mass near you are much lower. So masks are not without harm. So they could actually give us this false sense. Now, others argue on the other side of this, and I am starting to be compelled by this argument more, that the masks do something in terms of reducing droplet transmission and maybe some very small amount of aerosol. They have not maybe given people a very false sense of security. People maybe aren't touching their faces more, although I don't believe that. And it looks like anecdotally in cultures where they mask almost universally, they're doing better than we are. And there's stories, right? Like a barber shop, barbers are infected, everyone's wearing masks, none of the clients get infected. So could masking be a hack? First, okay, a hack to open the economy more, not have to require aggressive lockdowns, and allow us to get back to some degree of normalcy, except for the fact that we have to wear a mask in public spaces and enclosed spaces. And I think that's the most compelling argument. If it allows us to get back to some normalcy, I think everybody should be perfectly happy to wear a damn mask, unless you have claustrophobia, PTSD, something like that associated with masks, some other medical reason not to wear a mask, which is rare. And if that were the case, then we ought to be considering even mask mandates if you want to go out and interact in the world. So I think that's not unreasonable if it allows us return to social cohesion, return to normalcy, return to school, return to work, return to retail, and that sort of thing. In that case, universal masking, and again, cloth mask, surgical mask, whatever. We ought to be spinning up production of surgical masks and making them free for the public so that, or very cheap, let the government subsidize it. Fucking, they're already spending 3 trillion bailing us out of their own mess by printing money, which is that's going to end well. At that point, if everybody wears a mask, we could probably bend the R naught and do better. If we don't believe Michael Osterholm, right? Or he's incomplete. So my thinking on this now is, well, when I go out in public, I wear a mask. When I go into retail, it's the law, by the way, in California, I wear a mask. Seems like most other people here do as well. But when I went to Vegas, it wasn't like that at all. It was a total shit show. Nobody's wearing masks. They're all up at bars. They're all up in casinos. The staff at the bars and the casinos and the restaurants are wearing masks and face shields because they're required to by their employer. And in the suburbs, both the population and the retail stuff are masking up at least 50%, which is way better than the Strip where people are coming to be, libertarians. So it's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening with this. American exceptionalism in this case has failed it because except to the degree that we're exceptionally bad at controlling this disease when you look at most parameters. All right, so what about those who absolutely refuse the mask? Wrecked. So this is the problem. I have a problem mandating something that has very little data, but the thing is, if we all as a society could at least say, well, all right, we're willing to try this, then you have to say, well, okay, if you're not going to wear a mask, then you can't come in my restaurant. You can't come in the post office. You can't, go to the store. They're going to kick you out and enforce it. I mean, I hate that, but if that's what we have to do, then that's what we have to do. And then, you have the president who just absolutely refuses to wear a mask and considers it a slight against his personhood if you don't wear a mask. Now, the left and the right politicize masks. So I'm not just going to pick on Trump here. I'm going to pick on everybody on the left who's made a sport out of shaming people online for not wearing masks. So let's just be honest. You got to depoliticize. In America, it's more politicized than anywhere else in the world. And we just have shitty leadership across the board. Every party, it's just no bueno, man. So we don't have a unified response to this shit at all. Let's see. Emmy says, my concern is a bit more illogical thinking creates even more gaslighting out there in the world. So I got to be honest. I hate the term gaslighting because it's usually weaponized by people who are not quite right. But when it's used correctly, gaslighting is a powerful and effective accusation. So I'm always a little ambivalent. I did a show on gaslighting actually, but this is, to your point of critical thinking, Americans are shitty critical thinkers. Most of the world is, but Americans in particular, we haven't taught how to critically think. So with the mask situation, why can't we have a discussion using our critical thinking as to the pros and cons of masking instead of this emotional political bullshit? We should be able to sit down like I just did and say, okay, here's what the people who think masks work, and here's the people who don't think masks work, and here's the pros and cons, and let's think through it. All right, here's an important part about masking that people will say. The absence of evidence doesn't mean the evidence of absence. And the harm of masking is very small, whereas the benefit is unknown to great. So our decision should be easy for mask proponents because, again, what's the downside? Now, the mask opponents may say, well, the downside is you're touching your face more, you have a false sense of security, and there are other potential downsides of masking that we still don't understand. And the precautionary principle would say, don't make a major public health intervention on no evidence without understanding what the downside might be. So that would be the other side. And I'll tell you where I'm shifting more to the side of, you know what, it's probably pretty low risk. Just fucking do it. Shut the fuck up. And I'll tell you why, because I'm fucking tired of COVID. I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired of hearing about it. Put your damn mask on. go in the world until we see the numbers start to really drop, and then we can open up again fully. But I want that economy open. I want fucking people back to work. I want schools open. I do not want my kids at home in the fall not getting an education or getting a shitty one through me. And if that means that that we have to wear our damn masks, I mean, how hard is it to put a piece of shit on your face and walk around with it? It's not rocket science. It's not hard. How hard is it to shut the economy down, to cause 15 to 20 to 30% unemployment, to wreck the fabric of society so badly that people are dying of loneliness, suicide, substance abuse, domestic abuse, child abuse? Fuck, it's not that hard. So that's my take now. And remember, I'm the guy who was like, cloth masks fucking suck and they're stupid, which I still think. But you know, what are you going to do? Let's read some comments. As a high-risk person, I'm getting tired of being told I should just stay home so people can go out without masks and make each other sick. Casey Nurse 19, right? It's kind of shitty. And that gets to the social fabric issue. We as a society could say, okay, here's one thing we'll all agree to do. We'll wear the damn mask for the benefit of everybody. Even if I'm a young person and I'm not going to die from it, which isn't guaranteed, by the way, I'll wear the damn mask because I care about other human beings. Now, there are psychopaths and other motherfuckers that are always going to make it difficult, but they're outliers. By the way, speaking of outliers, so I've been listening to a book by Steven Pinker called The Blank Slate. I'm only a little bit into it, but basically he makes a very strong argument that most, 50% at least, of our personality traits and innate sort of shit is inborn through genetics. Which means psychopaths mostly are born, not made. And twin studies tend to bear this out. So the next time you're ready to lose your shit on someone, remember that they were kind of given a certain genetic hand that they can just, then decide to optimize or not, and then could be tweaked by their environment and their upbringing and societal pressure and all that other shit. But people are kind of born, and we got to give them the best chance to be the best them they can. And that means that when you see that anti-masker out there being an ass clown, you just got to go, what happened to that person? So what was his environment? And man, it sucks to be born so oppositional that you won't even make a tiny sacrifice to save old people, if that's actually a thing. And then you got to respect the people who are critically thinking, like Michael Osterholm, who say, we're asking people to do something that's fucking not proven. But then what Michael wants us to do is social distance and stay locked down more. So this is tough, guys. Like, it's all a damn balance based on what your own moral foundation is and what you value. But we have to at least be able to critically defend our points, kind of strip some emotion out of it, and then also respect and honor the other viewpoint, if we can. Yeah, Risa, anti-maskers, that's a thing now. Add it to everything else. Jeff Lum, when will mask wearing go away? Is this going to be a forever thing? No, Jeff. I think once we see the numbers drop off, it happens in Asia too. It's like they went through SARS goes away, they stop masking. They have a bad influenza, they mask up in the winter, unmask later. So it's not a permanent thing at all. But I think culturally, it's going to become a permanent sort of rite of passage when shit goes wrong. Because remember, this outbreak is nothing compared to what could happen. Influenza epidemic of 1918. Oh my God. And by the way, someone shared a really crazy flyer from the Alameda County Health Department in 1918. That's down the road from where I am. And it basically said, hey, listen, motherfuckers, you should wear a mask. Why? Because influenza will kill you. And if everybody wore a mask, we'd be much better off. This was in 1918. They couldn't get people to do it. So America's America. Connie Carter, I think we failed to educate the public as to why we're asking them to wear masks. My mask protects you. Your mask protects me. Corrine Carter just nailed it. We have done a shitty job. Why? Because we're polarized by cable news. We're polarized by social media. Our public health officials try, but they're not, let's be honest. Public health people are fucking weird. Can I just speak freely? It's YouTube. I don't give a fuck. Public health people are weirdos. The people who go into public health are a different breed. They care about things that most of us can't get fired up about. And that's why we need them, because they care about shit that most people can't get fired up about. But they are not always the best communicators. They're almost too much writer, too much rational thought, not enough emotional resonance. And so people don't connect with them. They don't communicate. And because science is evolving and because our knowledge of the epidemic is evolving, they sound like they're wishy-washy, even though what they're doing is saying, okay, new data, new approach, new numbers, let's change our messaging. And people hate that shit because they want someone just to be black or white and say, this is how you got to behave. But that's not how the shit works during a pandemic when people don't know what the fuck is going on. Welcome to the SuperPac, Spacey Casey. Thanks for joining our supporter group. So in this sense, we've done a shitty job of educating. We've put the wrong people in charge of educating. We ought to have, honestly, what we ought to have is the scientists communicating with social media influencers and actors and actresses to say, hey, teach the world how to do this because you're better at communicating with Americans than we are. That's the fundamental truth, man. But instead, we let the actors and the dipshits go out and just say whatever the fuck they want. By the way, Ricky Gervais did the fucking most amazing thing at the Golden Globes one year, right? He told the actors there, he said, none of you fucking people have any right to tell anyone anything about anything. You don't know shit about anything. It was fucking amazing. And he's like, so get up here, get your award, thank your fucking producer, and sit the fuck down. And I was like, hell yeah. What are you going to go up there and bloviate about your dipshit political ideas? No one cares, dude, because you're an actor. Shut the fuck up. Sometimes I feel that way about myself. I'm like, what the fuck right do I have? Oh, wait, I'm a doctor. Oh, wait, I'm a hospitalist. Oh, wait, I went to a decent school, so I actually got trained well. Oh, wait, I've seen patients die of this shit. Okay, I'm going to talk about it. That's a little different. Now that I talk about shit I have no right talking about, like fucking actors, but you know what the fuck. Corrine Carter, welcome to the Super PAC. Thank you for joining us. Michelle Eslick, how are you, girl? Thanks for the $2.99. Hey, I just moved to public health from OB. What did I say, Michelle? Weirdos in public health. I'm not calling names. I'm just saying, dude, congratulations. That's awesome. We need you. So that brings me full circle to the public health piece. I mean, these people are having to resign. They're having to quit because they're getting death threats. Now, here's the thing. This is another reason these guys just they don't know communication. I get death threats every fucking day from anti-vaxxers, from anti-maskers, from pro-pandemic dipshits, from pro-Erin Marie Malone, that's her arrest name, dipshits, arrest alias, I should say. I get these death threats all day, every day, but I can't stop, won't stop because I don't care. Fucking if they kill me, I'm a fucking martyr. And my kids get $1 million life insurance policy, fucking tax free, because I signed up for term life insurance in my 20s because I'm smart, because it was $400 a year for $1 million. Yeah, I just taught you some fucking money. Don't waste your time with whole life insurance when you're young. Get term life insurance when you have responsibilities. Extend it to age 50 because by then you'll have saved enough money, hopefully, that you won't need life insurance. And if you haven't, you can extend it and it'll be more expensive then. Anyways, what the fuck was I talking about? Yeah, I'm ready to die like Biggie Smalls. But the public health guys, they get a few death threats and they're like, I quit. I'm out. I didn't sign up for this. And it's like, snitches, you signed up to be a public official at a time of crisis. I don't know. I'm a little biased. I'm a dick. Jenny Kramer, welcome to the Super PAC. Thanks for signing up. Stephanie Dyer, wait, she got arrested? Stephanie, so like there's an arrest record online for her from like 2013 and it's like domestic abuse or something. You can search it. Search it out online. Somebody actually pulled a full background check on her that I can't share, but she's not a credible. Erin Marie Oslovsky is not a credible person that we should listen to about anything. That's all I'm going to say. And again, I agree with a lot of her criticisms of our healthcare system. Don't agree with her anti-vax stance or her conspiracy mindset or her essential oils are going to cure COVID bullshit. But who the fuck am I? Just a doctor. Blue Jay, can we talk about how masking from being a PT wearing a hospital type mask every single day is ruining my face? There are downsides to masking. No doubt about it, dude. My kids had to start wearing masks because of California's rules, and they're just like, what the fuck? I'm an 8-year-old girl. I'm not gonna wear this weird ass shit on my face. But they got used to it pretty quick. But yeah, it disfigures your shit. Oh, Stephanie thought I meant arrested now. No, I don't think she's been arrested yet, Stephanie. Carrie Bennett, it's go time. I have a lot of maladaptive coping skills and pent-up aggression. God damn it, Carrie. I love people who can just admit their shit out public. Like, that's dope. Just go punch a fucking wall. That's what I want to do. Risa Dubois says, Erin Marie blocked me for asking if she's deleting comments and that she doesn't like. So there's that. Well, that's a badge of honor, Risa. Callie says, adults, wow. Many pediatricians can't treat adults because malpractice limits. That's true. Let's read some more comments here. Man, there's a lot of supporters on this thread. Love listening to you. You say exactly what you think, Judy Stasek. Okay, so I do that. It's good and bad. Gets me in a lot of trouble, but I'm ready. I'm just ready for trouble now. Let's talk about, speaking of saying what you think, let's talk about Dr. Pimple Popper for a second. I don't know if you guys saw this controversy. So I wake up and someone's tweeting at me, hey, did you see this? And they're quote tweeting Sandra Lee, Dr. Pimple Popper, dermatologist, saying, retweeting a WebMD piece that was about sunburn versus sun poisoning. A registered nurse weighs in or something like that. And she's like, oh, a registered nurse, like they couldn't have gotten a board certified dermatologist, and then an eye roll emoji or something along those lines. And I mean, that's tone deaf. Why would you ever take a shit on nurses who do 90% of your work, who make up most of the workforce, who you can't function without? And of course, the outrage was instant, and a bunch of people were piling up on Twitter. Now, you guys know I was very ambivalent about this because, not because I don't disagree with what she said. I disagree strongly with what she said, because education is actually a nurse role. You don't need an overpaid, overqualified doctor to teach you about the difference between sunburn and sun poisoning. You need someone who just knows what the fuck they're talking about and can teach well. I am a believer that anyone can teach anything. It's like Gusto on Ratatouille. Anybody can cook. Just some people are better at it, but you can practice that. And, thanks for the $2.99, Karis. Should I require masks to hold my baby due tomorrow? No, you shouldn't. I don't think so, Karis. You guys are a family unit. By the way, congratulations. Have a safe delivery. You're awesome. Back to this thing. So anybody can teach. So I disagreed with her statement strongly, but I'm not the type to go full outrage on Twitter because I hate that shit. I've been the victim of it and I fucking hate it. I hate call out culture. I hate moral outrage expressed on Twitter at the expense of someone. I hate the fact that people can't apologize without apologies being accepted. And I just hate it. As a kind of semi-comedian too, I think humor is our last sort of, refuge. And the way comedians are treated now in the world is it's appalling. Oh, you're offended? Don't fucking come to the concert. Don't watch my shit. Fuck you if you're offended. Your feelings don't matter to anyone. I'm going to rant for a second here. Your feelings don't matter to anyone. What matters is, A, my free right to speak, B, your free right to argue back with me and debate me. What should not be allowed is your right to cancel me on Twitter or to form a mob that just creates this ball of echo chamber. I mean, that's just fucking unconscionable because your feelings were hurt. Now, what happened with Sandra Lee is a little different. I don't give a fuck about your feelings. I'm telling you right now, I don't give a fuck. But if you message me privately and you say something you said really resonated with me negatively because of an experience I've had, and I just wanted to share my perspective with you, that's different. But when you message me and go, you offended me with your fucking language or whatever the fuck, I will tell you to fuck yourself in whatever hole you want to fuck yourself in. Because I don't care about your feelings unless you can make me care about your story and your perspective and make me feel that compassion for you. And the way you do that is use your fucking words, be rational, but weave the emotion into it and tell the story. Don't fucking show me your outrage, because I don't care about your virtue signaling ass at all. I care about you and your story. So Sandra Lee, back to Sandra Lee, Dr. Pimple Popper is doing her thing on Twitter and everybody's piling on. And I was like, you know what? Many nurses had messaged me and said, can you say something as a longtime defender of us, because you've made videos for us, you've done all of this, we know you're our ally. And and I was like, yeah, I disagree with what she said quite strongly, but I'm not one to attack even other public figures unless they're Dr. Oz, because I don't fucking like that guy, but and because he's so big, he's indemnified. He's almost an abstract concept, right? Whereas she's actually a person, because she was big on social media and so on. And so I wrote a tweet that basically said, because she was asking, why can't they get a dermatologist? And I said, well, because the dermatologist would probably surprise bill you 20x for information that's 5% more complete and 50% more confusing. And then I said, but maybe I'm just butthurt because I'm a board certified internist who spent 4 months on keto so I could shoehorn myself into a bikini to do this. And then I shared my bad skin cancer prevention video as a point that you don't have to be a board certified dermatologist to teach about skin issues or health issues. You just have to care and be knowledgeable and be a good communicator. So that was my response to that. Tell me if I'm crazy. But I didn't want it to come off as more piling on and more outrage, because I wasn't outraged. I was like, I disagree with this statement. And I also think it's tone deaf. Like, that's not a good way to communicate when you want to influence people in the world. You don't alienate a whole mass of people that's giving their lives on the front line right now. She gave a half-ass apology, which I actually hit like on, because I think people should be allowed to apologize instead of piling on more. Now, a lot of people had good criticism of her apology, but still, I think, move on at this point. But that was, so that there was that. Erico, $5. Thank you. Still hoping for a parody of Jay-Z Big Pimpin' about pimpin' on bedside rounds. You demand, brother. Dude, it's a pretty good idea. Big Pimpin'. Dude, all right, stay tuned. I've been wanting to do that for years. Risa Doobie, kind of pissed you look better in a bikini than I do. I look really fucking good in a bikini. I'm not going to lie to you. So anyways, I talked about Pimple Popper. I talked about mass. I want to thank everybody on this stream. And the reason I'm starting to wrap it up is that I just got texted that my kid's hamster died. And both my daughters are inconsolable right now. And my assistant is texting me saying, can you please come home because they're inconsolable right now. And so that's a good enough reason to end this broadcast, leave the studio, and run home, because it's a little surprising that that hamster dies, and that hamster was cute as fuck. And I'm a little upset about it too. So I will see you guys on the other side of this. And thank you for joining me here on YouTube. I have a copy of it I'll upload for supporters on Facebook who didn't get to see this. The public page on Facebook can suck all the ding-dongs. And we are out. Peace. Stay well.